Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to this session where Anita Gibson is going to tell us the most important key to a great homeschool year. So glad you are here with us. And with that, we will let Anita get started.
All right. I am so happy to be here. I'm just so appreciative of Dr. Sherrill and Dr. Khadijah and just the vision that they have for just helping Black homeschoolers to have the resources that they need. It's a privilege to be a part. Thank you for allowing me to participate. So, as Dr. Sherrill said, this session is the most important key to great homeschool. And I have a question. I'm sure you guys were listening to lots of things today. And so I just wanted to know if you could either type in the chat or, say out loud if you prefer, what you think maybe one of the keys are of a great homeschool year. Make sure I have my chat. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Having a plan. Absolutely. Anybody else? Having a plan is incredibly important. And that person sounds like they might be a planner. For that to be the thing that comes up. So that is really important to helping being able to feel like you know what you're doing and you know where you're going. And so others might say curriculum, or they might say a schedule, or they might say, an online group, or a co-op, or any of those kinds of things. And all of those things are very important. I would like you to think about one other thing. I think the most important key might be you, Mom. It might be you. And I know even as I say that, some of you are like, "Oh no, that's the problem." I'm feeling not confident or unsure, and it can't be me. But as a mom who was homeschooled for 20 years, my husband and I homeschooled 3 children from kindergarten through 12th grade. Just like a wife is the heart of a home, or a mom is the heart of a home, so you are the most important key to your homeschool being great this year. I'm sorry, did someone say something? All right. All right, let me keep going. All right, so we don't always talk about this because it's easy to focus on the doing, on the getting the curriculum, on having our schedule together, on what is the place where they're going to get their other classes from. Oh, what type of math are we going to do? Just all of that just has you, all those things can have you just in such an uproar trying to figure it out. You can feel very overwhelmed about it. But I am proposing that if you stop with those outside, those things you can see, those doing things, and start with these other things of you being the most important, of you being the foundation to how your homeschool is going to be and how it will create a good year, I think you might actually take some of the stress out. At the end of what I'm sharing, my hope is, one, that you won't be overwhelmed. Two, that you will not be discouraged, because you have more things in your possession than you realize. And being the foundation to the homeschool, I want to talk to you about a few things that if you put these things in place first, it will be easier and it will be a sure building that you're building on top. Like, I was looking up foundations, and one of the interesting facts I found out was the World Trade Center is 176,000 feet tall. That's what you can see. But it has a foundation of over 150 feet with 5 basements below it. And so what I'm saying is sometimes in homeschool, we get focused on the things that are above, but I want you just for a moment to think about your foundation. So let's go. I'm going to use a little saying called stop, look, and listen to hang 9 strategies on that by the end of this talk, you will have some amazing ideas for things that you'll be able to do to make sure you have a strong foundation and to make sure that you as a mom are positioned to do well and that you have the things that you need. Stop, look, and listen. So first is stop. All right, I'm just going to say it. Stop being so busy. I know that there are so many things that we have to do as moms. But if most of us are probably working and we're trying to homeschool, those 2 things alone are enough to focus in on, and trying to do well. So there are some things that you're going to have to slow the pace down or just put on the back burner for a little while. It might be a degree that you're trying to get. You may have to go at it at a slower pace. It could be some wonderful business ideas that you have or business that you're running. You might have to put that to the side or slow the pace on that. Because if you're going to do homeschool well, you have to have what I call margin. What is margin? Margin is space so that the plan that you put together has room in it in case something shifts, in case something changes. So that means the 2:00 meeting that got bumped to 3 is still okay because you didn't just push everything right up together. You created margin in your life, which means you have to say no to things more often so that if something occurs, you have the space to still be able to get done the things that you need to get done. And in that space, you may just take a break if everything is good. You may, wash some clothes. You may have some other kinds of things you're trying to get done, but you're not stressing yourself out. As I said earlier, my husband and I did this for 20 years, and there is definitely a key or a strategy to making it for the long haul. And your long haul might be just getting through a school year. And that is to make sure you have margin. And so I know you guys have been listening to a lot of people talking and sharing. And so what I think I'm going to do is I was going to ask questions, leave questions for the end. But what I think I'm going to do is as we're going through, if you have a question about something I'm sharing about, feel free to put it in the chat. I would love to be able to answer as many questions as I can concerning this topic. All right, so the first stop is to stop being so busy. The second stop is please stop trying to be like other moms. You literally have been created the way you are specifically for your children. Okay, Rachel's saying creating space between things has been a wonderful lesson to learn over the last couple of years. Yes, just say no. So other moms have, amazing ideas and the way they do their school is great. And that's great for them. But guess what? That's not for you. And it might not even work for your child because you have literally been created. The things that you do well, the passions that you have, the love, the things that you love, and even your weaknesses have been specifically allowed and created for you to be the one to train up that child. You might be looking at another mom and saying, but she's married, and she has help. And, I'm a single mom and I only have my one income. And then the married mom might be looking at you and saying, man, but she gets to make her own decisions. Oh, and this being married is work in itself. And, or someone might say, I've got this big house and we're looking at them because we just have an apartment and there's no playground. There's no grass for our kids to play on. And we're going, man, I wish we had the big house and the grass in the back. And the mom with the big house and the grass in the back is saying, man, I wish we didn't have so much responsibility. I could really focus in on the kids more. So we're looking at each other thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. And we know the truth of that is it's not. So if you live in an apartment, if you're single or you're married, whatever your resources are or the lack thereof, it has been ordained that way for you because that's what your child needs. It might feel like you're operating in lack, but actually you're operating in purpose. And the things that you're teaching your child in the place where you think you're lacking are the very things that will help them become the adults that they are supposed to be. So I am a butterfly. I am all over the place. In homeschooling, we were doing this on Monday and that on Tuesday, and maybe I planned to do that on Wednesday, but we did something else on Wednesday. And somebody looking at me who maybe is a planner, very organized, they might say, oh, we got some more butterflies. They might, say, oh, I don't know about their homeschool, because if they need that order. But in our homeschool, we didn't. And let me tell you what happened, because I chose not to follow my girlfriends who were the very organized, let's put uniforms on, let's have a schedule from, 9 to 2. And there's nothing wrong with that because their kids grew up and are amazing people, but that's what their children needed. My children needed that creative place and environment where they could be free and they could explore and they could have fun in learning in maybe non-traditional ways. That's what my children needed. And now they are all over 30 and every single one of them is a creative. Our oldest daughter is a foreign service officer. She's a diplomat for the State Department. She speaks French, fluently French, Vietnamese, and now she's working on Korean. She's on her way to Korea for the next 4 years. And she has her own travel show, where as she's traveling all over the world with the State Department, she has this show that she does. And it is amazing. Our next daughter is a middle school science teacher, and she does amazing things with learning because she struggled with her learning. So she understands what it's like to not get something. And so she's very creative and always having multiple ways to introduce things. And then our son, who is a videographer and a photographer, that was presenting when he was younger, did the same thing. They're all creatives. Why? Well, partly because that's what their mom is. And so this environment was created. Of course, I'm excited about things, right? Because it's in my wheelhouse. It's what I love. And so I was able to take that passion and then share it with them. And then they had that same passion. They happen to all have different levels of this creativity, and it has bode them well as adults in their living, in their careers. It has blessed them because I chose to be my true self and not try to be like anybody else. All right. Looks like someone is trying to come into the room. Let's see. And then the third thing I want you to stop doing is please stop letting other people tell you that you shouldn't homeschool, or basically what you can do and what you can't do. Because if that desire is on your heart, then move forward with it and trust your gut that there's a reason why you are moving in this direction. When we first started, it was back in the 80s when in some states it had just become legal to homeschool. And my mother heard we were homeschooling and she was like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And my father, they were both like, you're gonna ruin these kids. And my husband's mother, the same thing. They came from another generation where the idea of us taking education into our own hands was unbelievable. Like, you guys don't know what you're doing. But we really felt that this was something that we should try. And so I heard what my mom said. I was honorable. I didn't disrespect her opinion, but basically I just went ahead and did what we felt we needed to do for our children. And will you believe, like about 3 years down the road, my mother dear, bless her heart, saw an article in a magazine about homeschooling and all the benefits and how amazing it was. And she was watching our children and noticing, just how inquisitive they were and how they were loving learning and the things that they were telling her. She was like, wow, I don't hear, a whole lot of kids talking about these kinds of things. And she became our biggest champion. So someone is saying my family was so shocked when I began homeschooling my daughter. Yes. They're like, are you kidding me? Just because they don't understand, as they love us and they want us to be successful. So they're concerned about that. But my third stop is don't let other people's opinions keep you from doing this thing called homeschool if you feel that's what you should be doing. And if I had have decided because my mother or my husband's mother said this is not a good idea to not do it, to not trust my gut, then where would I be? Where would my kids be? If I had have followed, the fear of what other people think. So if you're feeling called, I'm giving you permission today to go forward. First of all, the fact that you're here tells me that you are a parent that wants to learn and that wants to grow. And for me, homeschool, the essence of it is learning how to learn. And so you are the model. So as you're teaching, as you're learning, and then you're teaching them to learn how to learn, when they graduate from this process, they will be able to learn anything they need to learn. So don't worry if you don't know everything. Nobody does. That's the truth. All right, so let's move on to look. So remember, these are you are the most important key to a great homeschool year. I want you, mom and dad, I want you to look at your strengths. We spend so much time looking at what we don't do well and taking for granted what we do well. If you're a really good cook or if you're really good at math, you just kind of throw those things off to the side. And, when people say, something about it, oh man, you are such an amazing, and whatever it is, put it in that line. You just, in your mind, you're going, oh, that's nothing. Oh, that's easy. Oh, anybody can do that because you do it so well. But the truth of the matter is everybody has strengths, talents, abilities, and resources. And that acronym stands for STAR. So you as a parent and your child, you guys are all stars. And if you could begin to focus in, like today, if you don't do anything else, I encourage you to write down some things that you do well, that you don't even think about, and bring those things into your homeschool. Teach your children those things that you enjoy and that you do well. So I want you to look at your strengths. And then the other thing I want you to do is to look at your weaknesses. That's that second look. Weaknesses should be pulled up to the level that they don't hinder and that you don't trip. Like, I love to sing. I've been on the praise team. I've even been a minister of music at a church at one point. But honestly, I'm just an average musician. I used to teach piano. I absolutely loved it. But I'll never be a Yolanda Adams or some of these, amazing Beyonce. That's not that's not my gift. So even with the gifting that I had, I used it, I enjoyed it, I made money from it, but I could only get to a certain level because it wasn't my one of my strengths. But in the area where it's a strength, it will continue to grow as long as you are infusing it, spending time on it, giving energy to it. That's for you, and that is for your child. So if they're struggling with things like spelling, you just know, well, I wasn't a good speller either. Then you need to find strategies that will help them with their spelling to get it to a place where it doesn't hinder them. But don't be angry with them or frustrated if spelling is just not one of the things they do well. And so as you're looking at your weaknesses, at your strengths, there are things that you're weak at that you pull up so they don't hinder you, but you pass them on to someone else. And it's okay. You let somebody else do the math if that's not a strong area for you, or the English, or the language. See, as the parent of homeschool, of your homeschool, you are the brain. You come up with the ideas for what are the things that I want you to learn? What are the things that are important for our school? You don't have to do everything. I never taught a chemistry class or a biology class or a physical science class. I decided before my kids got to high school that I was not going to do that. So we actually created a co-op, happened to have an area where we could do that. And the moms who were nurses, they taught all those classes. So we had a physical way of getting those things done. There are so many resources out there now, online sources and on-site sources for you guys. The thing that I wonder about for you is back in the day, we had really few resources. You guys have so many that I'm watching some of you as parents become paralyzed because you don't know where to begin. You don't know who to trust. And you want so much to do the right thing. And so it's really important for you to know what your weaknesses are and then connect with people who have that as their strength. It could be another homeschool mom. It could be a Facebook group. It could be an online school. It's just so many different ways to get it done. You don't have to do it yourself. And I love what someone just said. Exactly. It's okay to delegate your child's studies. And some of it you can delegate to your child. Part of the beauty of homeschool is teaching them how to learn, right? So there will be subjects that maybe you can't find those resources outside. So you find a curriculum that is self-study, where they are doing most of the work themselves. And then maybe you get a tutor that comes in to help when they have questions that you can't answer. That's right. Mallory's saying, move that ego aside. Yeah, we can't do it all. And that is like the greatest revelation that you can have, that you are the orchestrator, of the orchestra. And nobody plays all the parts, right? In an orchestra, there's all different parts being played. But at the end of the day, there's this beautiful, beautiful music that is produced. And so I hope I'm freeing some of you as parents up to know that homeschooling is such a beautiful garden, and you can pull in so many different things and so many different ways of doing it. You don't have to lockstep like how someone else does it. You can do it the way that you've been created to do it, because that way is the way your child really needs it. All right, so let's see. The only other thing I'll mention is look at ways that you can be better. And every year, just like you plan out their school year, pick one area that you're going to be better at. It might be discipline. Like I heard myself saying, get your shoes on, get your shoes on. It's time for us to go. Maybe like 3 or 4 times on the regular. And I finally realized that I was actually training them to not respond to me until the third time, because it was a third time that I really meant it. And I was trying to figure out, why don't these kids listen? And so that 1 year, school year, that was an area for me where I decided that we're going to rework on this. I'm going to do better at making sure you guys are fully engaged, that the TV's not going, that you're not on your phone before I even say anything. And then I'm going to stand there and wait to see if you follow through. That margin I was talking about earlier. So I had to create margin in my life so that when I gave something for them to do, that I trained them by staying with them until they got it done. And if they didn't get it done, then we had some consequences, and eventually they remembered. And then we moved on to the next thing. Or maybe the thing that you want to get better at is training. My son and I would have arguments all the time about taking out the trash. Can you relate? I would say, son, did you take out the trash? And he would say, yes, mom. And I would go and, there'd be like trash still all around the trash can in the kitchen. The bag that he took out the trash can was next to the trash can outside instead of inside of it. The top on the trash can outside was off so critters could get in. And I would say, you lied. You didn't take out the trash. You told me that you did. Until one day I finally realized what was the problem. I had never trained him on what I meant by taking out the trash. And so when I started writing down all of the steps, there's like 7 steps to taking out the trash. And so we wrote them down. We put a little chart up there. And when he would say, I would say, Ricky, did you take out the trash? He would say, yes, mom. And I would say, did you look at your chart? And he would say, okay, let me go check. And then he would go check it. And then he would come back and say, okay, I took out the trash. And then we stopped arguing about that because I began to understand what I needed to do, and that was train him. And so it was, I had to tell him, pick up all the trash off the floor. When you take the trash bag out, make sure it's tied up. Put a new trash bag in the trash can in the kitchen. Walk the trash bag out to the trash can in the back. Make sure the top is on it. Then come back in. It's like 6 or 7 steps. But once I understood that, it flowed into other areas. So that might be an area that you want to say, I'm going to work on one area that I want to be better at so they can be better. All right, so we're on to listen. So it was stop, it was look, and now we're on to listen. Listen to your child. Just because we're the adults, sometimes I think, and maybe we've gotten that from, some of our past culture, we kind of think that children's thoughts or their ideas, their words are not that important. We had a daughter, the one who is the Foreign Service officer, the diplomat, who talked all the time. She talked so much that sometimes I would have to sneak in the bathroom and close the door. And I would have to announce, if no one is bleeding or dying, do not bother me. Because sometimes the talking, it was just like, I can't take it anymore. And so I would just need a break every now and then. And that's how I handled it. So I wasn't, yelling and carrying on. So when I came out, I got myself together, and, we could go on with things. But I began to realize, wow, this little girl talks from the moment she wakes up to the moment she goes to bed, but she wants to talk to me. My. She could be talking to someone else. Mallory, you have one like that? When I realized she could be talking to someone else and that she was choosing to bring her heart and her ideas and her thoughts to me, I began to realize I need to get some margin. There's that word again. So I have time to listen to this daughter when she's talking. Now, because she was so talkative, we also had to teach her balance and that there are times when you wait and, share those things later. But I also had to create things like giving her places where she could express that gift, and drama classes. And there were different kinds of group classes that we would put her in. And sometimes she would just do presentations for the family to give her that place. Uh-oh, Alicia, you got one too? Yes. And so, guess what? That daughter who I stopped squashing, I stopped saying, go sit down, watch a movie, read a book, get on the computer, and started listening to her and allowing that gift to expand and creating environments for it to expand. Guess what? That daughter is the one who now is a diplomat. And you know what she gets paid to do very well? Talk. So listen, the thing that irritates you the most about your child might be a strength. And instead of me being irritated, I learned that I was the one that had the problem and that I needed to create enough margin in my life, because homeschooling is not just about academics. It is truly a lifestyle. All right, so we're on listen, right? The first one was listen to your child. And the second is listen to their presence. You have the opportunity to be in their presence a lot more than maybe you have been in the past if you are new to homeschooling. But even sometimes veteran homeschoolers can get busy. We can get too busy trying to make sure the kids have everything they need, and we miss their presence. And what I mean by that is we miss that they're quiet. We miss that they're withdrawn. We miss that they don't do so-and-so like they used to do. And we can be sitting right in the house with them and miss things that are signals or signs that maybe it's time for a date, to go out and talk together, and not to just go right at what's the problem, what's wrong with you, but to maybe there's a need to maybe build that relationship a little bit more. And in hanging out and doing things, they begin to open up and tell you what's really going on. Because this is a really hard world to grow up in now, y'all. And homeschooling, if you're not careful, can just be another place of busy, another place of doing stuff. But these are foundational things that I'm talking about, that if these are in place first, what you have room left will tell you how much energy and time you spend on those other things. But because we do it the opposite, and we're doing all the stuff, and we're busy over here, we're busy over there, we miss the most important things. We miss knowing our child. We miss understanding that we are the key, the most important key to a great homeschool year. And the third thing on listen is listen to others, like you're doing today. I am just so proud of you. I am so encouraged to see all the many moms and dads who are willing to invest time and money into learning. You are such a good example to your child just by being here at this conference this week. You are showing them. Sometimes it's not even about doing, sometimes it's about showing. Sometimes it's just about being. And when you get those things in place, it makes it a little easier with the other things that you need to do, because the most important things are in place. Amelia said, yes, the world is rough and tough nowadays. Foundation is key. And even as homeschoolers, we can miss foundation trying to get the best curriculum, trying to find the best online class, trying to get our child socialized and into the best sports. And those things are all good, but they must come after you build a foundation. So I'm going to stop talking here and open the floor for any other questions that you guys might have. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Anita. This has been really, really wonderful. Just ground, like you said, foundation for your homeschool. Just a nice laying of a foundation. Really nice.
Thank you. Aries said, I'm convinced. Thank you for saying that. Tips for homeschooling multiple ages. So there are things that you can do. Some people call them unit studies, where, let's see, 6, 5, 3, and 2. Those are great ages actually to do multiple things with. 8, 5, and 4. Yes. So you're talking like 3rd grade, 1st grade. And then I see some preschool, and get them involved too. So one of the things that you can do is science and health, and history are great subjects to do together. You can do what are called unit studies, where they actually blend in multiple subjects into these two areas. So there'll be books, read aloud books that you can read to everybody. And then the assignment that you give to the youngers is different. They might just be coloring a page. And then the older, they might be writing a paragraph, or they may do some research, or they will do something that is appropriate for their age. Then you may do projects that you guys can do together. You can use different holidays as opportunities to, pull in those fun kinds of things. Teachers Pay Teachers is a great place to get ideas for creative kinds of things to do with just about every subject possible. You can even get some of the children engaged in helping the other children. So one of the ways you can reinforce, like the reading with a 6-year-old, if they're reading, is to have them read their simple books to the 3-year-old, and find creative ways to get them to use what they're learning, to be able, they're actually practicing and reinforcing it, to actually share it with other students. But we did a lot of read alouds. We blended our science and our history together, but we always separated the math and the English, because it's really hard to do those on, together as a group. You really need to have individual levels to do those kinds of things. Any other questions? So guys, thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate it. I'm just, like I said before, I'm so proud of you guys. I just hope that you walk away from this encouraged. Don't let the conference overwhelm you. Mm-hmm. Just pick 1 or 2 things that at the end of it, you'll go back and you'll start working on, because remember, you probably have months. I think everybody has like 11 months.
That's right.
To be able to enjoy. So don't feel pressured like I got to get it all now. There's only going to be 1 or 2 things you're going to be able to implement with consistency for this coming school year. Homeschooling is a lifestyle, and it's a process. So join in the process wherever you are. I promise you, you're going to grow. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. So if you're interested in connecting with me, I have a Facebook group called Simply Homeschool, where you can come in. It's a place of encouragement. It's a place of prayer. It's a place that for mom to come and just be re-energized. I really do believe in that. And then I have a book called Star Finder. And if you put my name, Anita Gibson, into Amazon, it will pop up. And that book has 12 strategies for how to make your homeschool just as individual and creative as you are. It takes the school out of homeschool and helps you create a lifestyle of learning at home. Okay, Ari, you know me from somewhere? Hopefully that's good.
That's wonderful.
Okay. Sure, the Facebook group is called Simply Homeschool. And I'd love for you guys to come and visit and join and be a
Question.
part.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions for when you're separating math and language arts, how to navigate the others from interrupting and and kind of just, really kind of bombing the whole situation?
Absolutely. I've had situations where there was a younger child who was moving faster in a certain subject than an older, and they kept saying answers, and that was, that's not helping your esteem at all. But one of the things that you could do is have private times or special little kind of workshop times for those areas where they need that, a safer environment. And so you can create a safer environment where it's just you and them, and the other kids are working on something, or they might have a break where they get to watch, a video, or they get to do something they enjoy doing for 30 minutes while you're working with this other child. We had like delight boxes, passion boxes, I would call them, in our house, where it was a boxes full of things that they love. So some of them love art. So there's all kinds of things you could do with art. You only could do it though at certain times during the school day. Or it was Legos. My son loved Legos. So he had a Lego area that when I needed him to go do that, where he wasn't asking me questions, because I needed that 20 minutes, that 30 minutes with an older child to do something, they were happy, the younger were happy, and the older, I was able to help build their esteem and confidence because I created a safe place for them in our home. I hope that helps. All right, any other questions? Well, it looks like we're just about done. Dr. Cheryl, should I go ahead and call it a day?
If there's no more questions, yeah, I guess so. Oh, here's one. What was the biggest lesson you learned from listening to your children?
You're trying to get deep on me now. Oh, you're almost going to make me cry.
Mm.
Whew. The biggest lesson I learned was that they are the most beautiful, special creations, and that I was given such a privilege to nurture and care for them, and that it was a privilege to be able to hear their heart, for them as teenagers to want me to go with them to the movies. Me opening up to really hear them, and they knowing I heard them, they invited me into their world. I think that was the biggest lesson.
Mm. That's powerful.
I see several Simply Homeschool groups. Okay, let's see. Well,
I tried to put the link in.
so if you want to go to Anita Gibson EDU on Facebook and let me know, I'll send you the link if it's not the right one. Anita Gibson, the letters EDU. just let me know there and I'll make sure that you get in. And the last thing I will say to you guys is about 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And something like that will give you such clarity about life. It will help you very quickly understand what's important and what's not important. And I think some of those lessons have helped me to be able to slow down. The job that I was doing, I had to take a 3-month sabbatical. It took 4 people to do that job. And so I was a workaholic. I was a perfectionist. I was trying to do it all. And God slowed me down enough for me to understand that I don't have to do it all. And he began to show me what is the most important thing for me to do. And homeschooling was certainly at the top of that list. And so that job, I didn't even go back to full-time. I went back part-time. And my bosses, my job was gracious enough to allow those other people to stay. And I am here today because I was able to figure out what's most important. And I hope you don't have to go through what I went through to figure that out and to find out that having the privilege of taking care of my children is such an honor.
Thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself with us, Anita. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful. Yes. People are saying, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your candor.
You're welcome.
Yes. It's the power of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. Okay, well, we have a 4:00 session, so I'm going to close this one out. But again, I just thank you so much, Anita, and thank you to all of those that are participating in this session and for sharing yourselves in the chat as well. Really appreciate it. You make the community great.